Hi, Thanks from Groovy Entertainment. Today we're gonna record a play for you. Today record is The Magician's Shoes for 1978. So let's get started.
This story begins once upon a time, as many stories do. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a magician who traveled from village to village performing magic tricks to entertain the townspeople. He was very famous and caused great excitement wherever he went, for the king's trumpeters heralded his coming. And the people flocked to the theater. There he performed many wonderful tricks that made the people laugh. On the stage, he always wore shiny black patent leather shoes, of which he was very proud. He kept them in a black box when he wasn't wearing them, because they had once threatened to run away. Oh, sighed the shoes, if I could only see the rest of the world. When I'm not on the stage, I must stay in a black box like a prison. How unhappy I am. One night, the shoes decided to misbehave. As the magician was walking out onto the stage, the shoes began to squeak. The people laughed. But the magician was very angry. Right after the performance, he took them to the town shoemaker, a jolly but forgetful man who always sang as he worked. His song went like this. The magician entered the shoemaker's shop. Fix these shoes, the magician commanded. They must be ready by 7 o'clock, for I am to travel in the morning. Oh, but one thing you must not forget. Keep them in this black box, or they will surely run away. So the shoemaker sat down to work, fixed the shoes, and set them up on the shelf. Oh! He forgot to put them in the black box. Soon the whole town was asleep. All the world was still. The clock struck 1. The magician's shoes looked carefully around. Hopped off the shelf and sneaked across the floor. Now, they thought, I can squeak to my heart's content. Nevermore, nevermore in a box as black as night. Across the floor, out the door I'll walk, and I'll run, and I'll see the light. So the magician's shoes walked happily down the road, across the fields, over mountains, by brooks where birds sang. Finally, they came to a farmhouse. Inside, they heard soft crying. The magician's shoes were quite surprised to find that the crying came from a pair of old farmer shoes. What? You don't live in a black box. Why are you crying? No, the farmer's shoes replied. All day long I walk through the fields in the hot sun. All day while my master plows I must walk and walk. No rest have I. I'm so weary, but I must walk on and on. The farmer's shoes broke into such pitiful sobbing that the magician's shoes became rather ashamed and tiptoed out of the farmhouse as quickly as possible. Oh, well, they said, and flitted on through the night. Soon they came to a camp of sleeping soldiers. The magician's shoes tiptoed ever so carefully into the nearest tent, where they were quite surprised to find a pair of crying soldier shoes. Well, you don't live in a black box. Why on earth are you crying? Oh, moaned the military shoes. You'd weep too if you lived my life. You see, all day long I march in the hot sun, the pounding rain, through mud, over sharp stones. Never a rest, never. Marching all day long, no rest. And there was more bitter weeping. Again, the magician's shoes were rather ashamed and crept away into the dark of night. There must be a happy pair of shoes around here somewhere. Then, an idea. The magician's shoes hurriedly made their way back to town and quietly tiptoed into the king's royal theater. Though it was dark now, this was the place where the king's dancers performed. They whirled about to this music. Still dark stage, they came across a pair of beautiful, shiny pink satin slippers that belonged to the king's favorite ballerina. But they, too, were in tears. Tell me, what's your trouble? You don't live in a black box, indeed, with all your beauty and a huge stage such as this on which to dance. Why, you must have a fine life. Yet here you are, in tears. The dancer's shoes replied, I'm so tired. Never do I rest. All day long I rehearse. All evening I must dance to please His Majesty the King. Dance, rehearse, perform, dance, rehearse, never stopping. Dance, dance, always dance. And they too wept bitterly. Now the magician's shoes began to wonder. If I'm allowed to rest in a black box where it's still and cool, oh, maybe my life isn't as bad as I think it is. No, I don't walk all day in the hot sun or dance all evening to please the king. And I don't trudge through muddy fields or march on hard stones. Maybe I have a better life than I think I have. As the magician's shoes were thinking about this, the village clock began to strike 7. Oh, 7 o'clock! 7 o'clock! I must be home by 7 o'clock! And the magician's shoes ran as fast as they could through the early morning streets to the shoemaker's shop. They entered cautiously. Sneaked across the floor. And hopped into place up on the shelf. Oh, and not a moment too soon, for then the shoemaker entered singing and sat down to work. Soon the magician entered. I'm here for my shoes. What? You haven't put them in the black box. I warned you. But wait a minute. They didn't. No, they didn't run away. They're still up there on the shelf, and they've not run away. No, the shoemaker answered softly. They've not run away. And I'm quite sure they'll never squeak again. Go, try them on now. You'll see. So the magician took his shoes and went his way. And sure enough, they never squeaked again. And the magician and his shiny black shoes traveled around from town to town, performing wonderful tricks and making people happy wherever they went.
So that was The Magician's Shoes for 1978. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.